everybody. Welcome back to the Rochester Local Podcast. My name is Becky Monpetit. I am the owner of Rochester Local. And today, my special guest is Devon Hugdahl. Hi, Devon.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
What people on the other side of the screen and or audio will not know is that it is freezing outside today.
Yeah, -7 in the car.
Oh.
Colder than that in the air, yeah.
So thank you for venturing out into the great Arctic to come to our house and record the podcast this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really, really excited to have you on the podcast. There's a couple of ways that we've kind of run into each other in the last, 6 months, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first way, going back to Thaw, the music festival,
yes.
Which is coming up in March, by the way.
Yeah.
You were sitting in the chateau, and I think it was Mae Simpson that was playing, and your art was displayed, and I had not seen it before, and I was like, who is this guy? This is amazing. I love it so much, and I immediately bought like 2 or 3 pieces from you.
Yeah.
It was screen printing.
Screen printing. That specific event I made posters for. So
Yes.
the Thaw posters were... a lot of what I do is promoting bands, so they're called gig posters, or events like that. And all of that stuff comes from either someone calling me up and being like, hey, I've got this event that I want to do, or a lot of times it's me cold calling. Like with Thaw, I just emailed them and I was like, hey, I really want to make a poster for this thing.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So
no, I love it, and I think there's such like an organic feel to something that is printed there. It's an original like that, and that is really special and lends like a really special connection back to the event.
Yeah, I think so. It can be like a keepsake. It's something that says you were there, or even if you weren't there and you just like the art.
Yeah,
it's still this original object that might have a band on it you like, or it might have an image on it that you like, or it might fit your wall nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, the beauty of it is that it is a handmade object, and it can mean anything to anybody.
Right.
Like it can be an event thing. It's like, I was there. It was a great show. Or, oh, my band played that, or it can be anything. That's why I love it so much.
I loved it. For me, it was really special to have that Thaw poster because Rochester Local as a business has grown, and at that time was about 9 years old or so, maybe a little bit younger, and we're approaching our 10-year anniversary in October.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
But a dream that I had was to be supportive of organizations that are important to the community and things that bring people together. That was really important to me, and I started my business. And I was able to sponsor Thaw for the first time that past year.
That's excellent.
And so for me to have that down there, it just kind of like represents, hopes and dreams, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why I loved it so much. Plus, I love kind of the Thaw poster specifically. Like it's these beautiful pheasants that are on there.
Red-winged blackbirds.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Red-winged blackbirds.
Because the whole thought process was that it was in March, so like things are starting to thaw out, and like we're starting to get to spring, and the first birds that come back for migration are the red-winged blackbirds.
Oh, and then that's really specific, and it's really the deep cut, and I love that so much. I love it. But then the other way that we've kind of connected is that my daughter Evie is an artist. She's a 10-year-old, blossoming artist, and she has attended Total Arts Day Camp.
Yes.
For years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you were involved in Total Arts Day Camp by a few different ways.
Yeah.
Tell us why.
well, I don't know where I should start.
Yeah,
start with the nepotism, or if I start with the fact that I'm actually like invited, but. My wife is the director of the Rochester Arts Center, so
Hi, Pam.
Hi, Pam. So I do a lot of work with them. My background is not just in art. I also have a background in art handling. So I was a preparator. A preparator is someone who hangs art and moves art around the world and that kind of thing. So I've done that for about 25 years. That's how we met, Pam and I.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's a great story. I'll tell sometime.
Yeah.
So I work with the exhibition staff there, and I also, because I do screen printing, I volunteered, and I said, hey, if you want to do screen printing in the summertime, I'd love to come and do stuff.
Yeah.
So I've done it for 2 years in a row, where I'm there every week. There's camp, and there's camp all summer. So I'm there once a week, and I do screen printing. The first time around, we did, I have to do posters. So my whole thing is posters.
Oh, yeah.
So we did gig posters for the Rochester Arts Center, and there was the Total Arts Day Camp poster. The first year, we just did one design for the whole of the camp, but last year we did a different one each week. So each week had a different arts camp poster.
Super cool.
It was super cool.
Yeah.
And then, the first year we did T-shirts, but I really don't like printing T-shirts. I really don't like printing T-shirts.
Yeah, I mean, T-shirts are fussy. It moves.
They move. That's my biggest thing is like I print on paper and paper stays put. It stays flat. And if it's down on where I put it in my registration marks, it stays there. But
yeah. All right. So talking about the thaw poster, here it is.
There it is.
I know.
Yeah.
So the red-winged blackbirds that are here represent the thaw, and they're the first ones to come back.
They are the first ones to migrate back through. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so did you just come up with the design yourself, or?
Yeah, it's. I really like to kind of. The way I work is either I get an idea first.
Yeah.
Well, I never get an idea first. I get a contact first. So this one was thaw.
Yeah.
So I had to think about like, well, what I want to do with this. And there's a couple of iterations that come out. And I was like, well, the first birds that come back from blackbirds, I really love them.
Yeah.
And I just so happened to be in a thrift store, and there was this book on birds, and that amazing image was like one of the little things about breeding blackbirds. And I was like, well, that is absolutely perfect for this.
Yeah.
So then it's a matter of taking it out of context, changing it enough that it's like not under copyright anymore.
Yeah.
And then adding the rest of the details in.
Right.
So
That's super cool. No, I love this, and I have that because of the importance of.
Wait, can you pick it back up one more time? I want to show you one thing that's so a lot of art for me is self-doubt. That's a lot of the whole thing is like I never think I'm good enough. And I just want to show you up here this Texas toast. I spelled Texas wrong, and it made it through every single editor. I had 4 people edit this poster and made it through all of them, and I still spelled Texas wrong. So I had to go back. I printed the whole poster. I had to go back with one screen and put that little X in there.
Did you know that this is in my office, and I read, like, it's just kind of like one of those things that I read through. Just like when I'm thinking through my day, I just like go through this list.
Yeah.
You never noticed that?
That's why it got missed by me and by other editors, because when you read Texas, even if there is an extra S in there, your brain just fills it in. So it made it all the way through to printing. Then I had to go back, read through, and print with one screen, one little teeny squeegee, X's on every single one.
Wild.
No, that was me. That was my mistake. I wish.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, there you go. There's the whole process. I'm a terrible speller, and I do gig poster, which is like a hard place to be.
So then another piece and this one was, you were at the winter market at Chateau. Like at the beginning of December.
Yeah, December 7th. That was fun.
That's when my daughter made the connection between Total Arts Day Camp. And I had met you a couple of times before that. And then we bought this guy. We bought 2 prints.
Okay.
So we bought one for me and one for her.
Oh, the same guy?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
And so then our idea is that we're going to add something on the frame here.
Yeah.
Like each one of us will add something meaningful to us.
That's great.
So we'll kind of have like matching art. But tell me the inspiration, or like where you found this guy.
Yeah, so pretty much most of my work comes from periodicals or books that I've found in like the people's basements or bookstores, or like they got to be kind of old. Like the older they are, there's this change in eras between, like in old magazines especially, like from like the 20s up until like the 50s, it was all hand drawn illustrations. Even though all the advertising was hand drawn.
Yes,
beautiful stuff.
Yeah,
you can think of stuff out of context, make it into whatever you want to.
Right.
And then after that, like this 50s and 60s, it was all photographs, which is like you can still use, but it's not quite as interesting.
Yeah.
So I like looking for these old books. I have this huge collection that just takes up way too much space of old books, and
that's like
So this one, I was in an estate sale.
Yeah.
And I was down in this dank, dark basement, and there was this little tiny magazine, like sticking. It was like this big.
Yeah.
Sticking out of this little crevice, and I pull it out, and it was a hunter's manual from like 1952.
Oh.
And inside it had all these illustrations about like hunting and the regulations, and all these amazing illustrations about deer and like how to field dress. It was like this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it was so super cool. So this guy was like that big in the margin of the paper, talking about how the bunny is the king of being not caught or something. I can't remember what it was. And I made him a little bigger and changed his colors, and he just seemed like he needed to be there.
Well, I love it. Absolutely, 100%. My daughter has kind of gravitated towards rabbit and bunny things ever since she was little, so this was really meaningful for us.
Perfect.
So
well, that's perfect.
That was kind of like the impetus for me, seeing you that second time and making that connection with my daughter, and I'm like, he's coming on the podcast. I think we talked about it right then and there.
You did.
Too.
You did mention it that
You're
day.
coming in on the podcast.
Yeah, I think actually you both mentioned it that day.
That's right, because we saw you
separate times. Yeah. Yep.
We were on the same wavelength, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's
I love
right.
that. So fascinating to learn a little bit more about you and what you do. And as a guest on the Rochester Local Podcast, we love hearing about what people do, but we love even more hearing how they live in the city. So we're jumping into the questions that I like to ask pretty much everyone that comes on here. I won't ask them all, but I will ask.
I will do my best to have an answer for most.
All right.
I've only been here for 4 years, just so you know. So I'm not like I've embedded myself in the community, but I'm not like an expert.
Listen, I love that. You don't have to be here forever. I've had people that have been here for 6 months. I've had people... No, I love it. That's all these different perspectives, right?
Right. That's true.
Okay, so what makes you good at your job?
What makes you good at my job?
I'm gonna grab my coffee.
Yeah. Well, recently, I mean, being good at my job and screen printing is like, there's two sides to it. There's like the technical side, like having the ability to print like whatever I have in my head.
Yeah.
Is something I've taught myself over repetition and trial and error and like getting better at it. So now, I mean, that poster is 3 colors. Like pretty much everything I've designed the past 6 months has been 5 colors, which is like a much more in-depth kind of thing. So like being good and comfortable at printing makes the design aspect a lot easier. Yeah. Because I'm not as limited, you know?
Sure.
And I think the design aspect, what I really try and do with anything that I come up with for anybody. So with bands, what I do is I ask them if they want a poster for a show, or I did a tour poster personally for last summer. I'll ask them to send me their music, and then I'll listen to the music first. And I'll kind of get a sense of like what the band's vibe is, what they feel like what their style is, and then that really informs what I do. Yeah. In all of them, because I try and take the overall concept of the feeling and boil it down into an image that like resonates. Yeah. I'm working with the Rochester Repertory Theater right now on their next series of advertising. So for their next series of performances, I'm doing posters for all of them. They might not be screen printed posters, but I'm trying to talk them into it. Sure. But so I had to take these plays I'd never seen and boil them down into an image that would like resonate and be the image for the play. Yeah. Which was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, because like I've never seen them. Like with a band, you can like put the CD on, you can listen to it, you can get the vibe. Right. But like I had sent Philip, his name is, I'd sent him a few copies of things that I had played with, and he's like, "Well, this is a comedy," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." So I made it like this kind of dark, brooding thing, and I was like, "Oh, it's a comedy." That all right? Okay, scratch that. Yeah. So I had to recycle and kind of come back, which is fine. It's like because it's like I said, it's like I can't go and see the play. Yeah. I have to like read about it and get the synopsis and that kind of stuff. So because I really do, what I really strive to do is take an idea and make it into an image, or take something that's like a concept and make that into something visual. Right. Well, and clearly, I hope so. I believe that you are very good at this. Well, I hope so. Yeah. The thought poster this year is going to be a lot different, but it's going to be, I mean, it's a similar coming of spring changing thing. Yeah. So yeah. Oh, I can't wait to see it. I love it. Okay. What is one random or eccentric fact about yourself? I'm really, really good at cooking. Well, we kind of alluded on that in the off camera chatter. But it's not even just like I tinker. It's like I delve into it. Like delve. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. It started out, my mother taught me how to cook. She felt that it was a really important life skill. Yeah. And then the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it, and realizing that you can make something that tastes better than restaurants is like amazing. Wow. And then when my wife and I moved from Minneapolis to Sheboygan, Wisconsin, which is a kind of smaller town, much smaller town. Sheboygan, been there. Sheboygan, you have. Okay, all right. The lake's beautiful. Yeah. The town is okay. Sorry, anybody from Sheboygan. Oh, I don't mind. I lived there for 6 years. When we got there wasn't the food we wanted to eat. Like there wasn't a really great Thai place. There wasn't a really great Japanese place. I mean, there were, but they weren't like what we were looking for. Yeah. So at that point, I was like, well, I need to learn how to cook these things you want to eat. So it became a necessity kind of thing. But then I really, really got interested in it. So like cooking Thai and cooking Japanese food, and like taking on things that would be a challenge, and like really, really diving into it. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So what would be your favorite cuisine then? I really like Asian foods, all of it, from anywhere in the Pacific. It's just, I mean, my kids' favorite foods that I make are Japanese in origin, so gyoza. Oh, yeah. Stop. I make homemade gyoza. I actually grind the chicken myself, season it myself, wrap the things myself, and then my kids like it this special way. It's called with a skirt. Oh. So you take a cast iron pan, you lay your gyoza down, and you fry it on one side, and then instead of just pouring water in to make it a pot sticker, you mix a little starch with the water.
Yes, I've seen this.
Pour it on top, and you close the lid.
Crispy, so
and then it has this like crispy top to it when you flip it out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my kid's favorite thing. They ask for it like once a week.
So
I've gotten really good at it.
Seriously, wow. I mean, that's time consuming. You probably got it down to a science. My husband lived in Japan for 2 years, so he really likes Japanese cuisine. I love it. I'm not great at cooking it, but I will tell you, I can make okonomiyaki.
Ooh, nice.
I know. And so that is something that we really like here. And I probably make it, I don't know, haven't made it like 2 or 3 times total, but we really like that.
Nice. Very good.
All right. So speaking of food, what's the best spot for takeout? If you're getting takeout, where are you getting it from? Well, maybe you don't get takeout very often.
Well, we don't usually. I will be honest that we don't usually get takeout. But I mean, my favorite place to get a sandwich is Old Abe's.
Yeah.
I love their banh mi, my favorite sandwich in town.
Yeah.
If I'm getting like takeout that would like stuff, my other favorite place in town is what's the Caribbean place? Francisco's. I love Francisco's. I would eat there every day if I could.
Their coconut rice.
I know. Oh man, I almost like wept when I ate their goat curry. I was like, oh, this is the most amazing.
Have you had the fish?
I haven't had the fish.
The white fish.
Okay. Oh man. Yeah. I had never had anything that I didn't like. So
I know. Yeah. I would agree. And if we can go back to Old Abe's banh mi for a second, next time order it with extra jalapenos.
Oh, I do that every time.
Do you?
Yeah.
Me too.
I like it spicy.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
I know, me too. That sandwich is so it's so good.
Yeah. One of the women that works with me, I can't remember her name right now, but I like, she lives around the corner from me. And I was walking to school to pick up my kid with her. I was like, where do you get the bread? Because that bread is so good. Yeah. It's so crispy and light at the same time. Oh man! Apparently they order it from this bakery custom in the cities. They bake it. They par bake it in the cities, freeze it, and then send it down here, and he pulls it out as needed. Yeah. So it's like he did his research.
You're very sly and you're very good. I know. No, it's. I agree. That's one of the best sandwiches, if not the best sandwich.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you've been here for 4 years.
4 years.
You came at basically the same time as the pandemic.
Yeah, we moved in the heart of the pandemic.
Yes.
We couldn't find people to help us.
It's so crazy. It's been, we're rounding the corner now to 5 years.
Yeah.
What have you seen? What changes have you seen?
I mean, that's hard to say because when we got here, everything was closed.
It's true.
I mean, I moved here with kids and there was no school. There was nothing to do. The library was closed. Like everything was closed. So we had nothing to do. So it was a really hard introduction to the city because we couldn't like do stuff. We couldn't go places. We couldn't see things. So luckily we live like right on Silver Lake Park.
Yeah. Yes.
So we spent a lot of time in the park. The thing we did in the wintertime the most was, so the subway skyway system, especially at that time, like basically shut down on the weekends. Like nothing was open.
No, yes,
Is it still that way downtown?
No, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So like during the pandemic, there was like no one. It was empty.
Yes.
It was Deadsville. So what we would do is we would just walk the entirety of the skyway system and the subway system over and over and over again because we had to get out and do something.
Yeah, that's a really smart idea. And then you really got to know that grid down there too.
Yeah, I mean, I still get lost. You know, I'm in a band, and 2 of our bandmates are well, one's an ER pharmacist and one's a doctor.
Oh, I love this.
So they know the skyway system inside and out because they run back and forth and get lunch, that kind of stuff. So Kara, she's a pulmonologist, and she like took us this circuitous route from one side of Mayo to the other side of Mayo, and I was like, I have no idea where I am. Like, I don't even know where I am in the city.
That's crazy. It is. I mean, there's the public part.
Yeah.
And then there's the part that you don't see too. And what you need a badge is to get.
Well, not even that though. Like, she took us through all these public spaces, but there were all these like weird back staircases.
Oh, I love this.
But it's like, I don't know where the heck this is.
There's so much that's hidden. No, so I worked 2 summers at Mayo during college. They used to hire people for summer. Or college students for the summer to just do like projects or whatever.
Sure.
So I worked 2 summers and I worked in the old Osmond building.
Okay.
So that's on 2nd Street, kind of west of where the main clinic building is. And I would be sent to run errands. And it was my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I loved it because in the lower level of the Osmond was the old jail.
Oh, wow.
And then, you had to have these badges. And I'm telling you, as someone like a college kid walking through all these subways with your badge and all these sorts of things, I was the stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was the stuff. And I was like going in these other ways and it was so fun. And I loved being able to learn but I would end up in like the Osmond building all the way up to like, 7th or 8th floor in the Siebens building, which is right off the Peace Plaza. Like, it was just so great. I loved it. I think
it's amazing how much interconnected it is. It's more so than I think I even realized, because I don't have badges to get places.
Right.
But, you open a door and you go down this hallway and you end up somewhere. It's amazing.
I know. It really is wild. It's a cool thing. Okay, so we're on a podcast. Do you have a favorite podcast?
My daughter and I laughed with it. I actually don't listen to podcasts.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am a huge fan of community radio.
Okay.
So what I do, and I listen to music all day long, from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed, I listen to music. But what I do is I have a number of community radio stations across the Midwest that I tune into on certain days for certain shows.
Okay.
So there's KFAI, which is in the cities.
Okay.
Which is the voice of community radio.
Sure.
In the cities. There's WRT in Madison, which is where I grew up.
Sure.
So
okay.
they have had great programming. There's WMSC, which is out of Milwaukee. I lived over there for a long time, and that station was on like all day. It was never off. Basically, when I woke up, I hit the button, and that station was on all day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I was home raising my kids.
Yeah.
So, I was home with both kids, but I was home primarily with my son so the time he was born.
Yeah.
Until he went to school.
Yeah.
So it was like all day long we were listening to that one radio station.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So what is it about community radio that you gravitate towards?
Well, I mean, it's something I've always listened to. Like when I was a kid, it was always on. Like my mother listened to it, I listened to it in Madison. It was just on.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is like you'll hear things, especially with music. You'll hear music that you wouldn't hear on like any other Clear Channel station.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're not beholden to a list. Like they don't have to play certain things.
Yeah.
And what's cool is, especially with with the one in the cities, it can be like jazz in the morning and then punk in the afternoon and then like classical in the evening.
Yeah.
And like if you don't like it, like just like come back in like an hour. You're probably gonna like it then. It's like everything is different. And it's all run by like a volunteer base, and these DJs come in. And the thing about it is I was talking to this guy I was selling posters with, and he was like, "Oh, so where do you get your music from? Do you stream?" I was like, "No, I listen to radio." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I figured like I don't have to be an expert.
Yeah.
Like these guys are the experts.
Yeah.
Like these DJs come on and they play an expertly picked list of music that I wouldn't even know about because I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But I mean, I want to be, but I'm not going to spend my time doing that because these guys are already doing it. I can just tune into the radio station and be like, all right, that's awesome.
All right, fill in the blank. Rochester needs a
teen center.
Oh, great answer.
When I was growing up in Madison, there was a really great teen center. It was called the Loft. It was run mostly privately, but it was also like sort of pseudo funded with public school money.
Okay.
And they had like pool tables. They had like spaces you could do art, and then they had this great venue that bands could play. So they had like it was always like a high school age teen band, but sometimes they'd actually have touring bands come through, and like I saw Rancid there.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So like that kind of stuff. Like once in a while they had these big bands come through, and but it was always all ages. So like it was never weird, and I never got uncomfortable. It was always great, and it was like this place. I mean, I've been in bands since I was like 12 years old, so like we played there all the time. It was like a second home for us.
Wow.
And if someone could make that in every city in the world, it would be amazing.
Well, yeah, just like a place to congregate that's not in like a downstairs or, at like a Applebee's or something like that.
Or someone's car.
Yeah.
Or like weird stuff,
Yeah, or like, sitting in the park in a car.
And if it could have things that they were interested in, like it could have like a video game setup, if it could have like a recording studio, you could have like, a stage you could play on. Like, I mean, that's what.
A den for EA Sports or what is it? What am I trying to say? Esports.
Oh yeah, whatever, anything. I mean, there's something that they could come and do, and like, it'd be a safe place. I mean, there would need to be adults staffing it, but like, it could be a completely organic.
Yeah, and they can build the culture there.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
I like that. Okay.
Actually, by the way, I thought about this quite a bit. The weird industrial building next to the athletic center, right down on Broadway here. That white building.
That white building would have been great.
Would have been great.
Well, would have been great, but it's they're building a ramp there.
Oh, what?
It's a park and ride. It's a park and ride, and it's to alleviate parking at the rec center. Listen.
We just need another rec center.
Listen.
Pave paradise and put a parking lot.
Listen, we've come up with a zillion different ideas for that white building. We wanted.
It's just super cool.
Right now, I think what it holds is seasonal decor and park and rec.
I figured it's a city thing.
Yeah. All right.
This town lacks just old buildings because it never went through that industrial era.
Yeah.
So it went straight from being like Orinoco to now there's Mayo Clinic.
Yep.
And it just missed all the manufacturing stuff.
Yep.
So it didn't have that natural growth of a city.
Yeah.
So everything's a new build, and it's cost prohibitive for so many things to get started.
That's true. I mean, even IBM too. Like that building is just too big. You know, if they try to do something with that building, it's just too big.
It has to. I mean, that's why it's so parceled out. But like back in the heyday, that place was popping.
Yeah. You know, that's Errol Sarnan. He's Errol Sarnan is.
Yes.
Yeah. So I always say that because people talk about that building like it's this eyesore, but it's like that was one of the most famous architects in America for a while.
Yes, you're exactly right. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the St. Louis Arch. I mean, that's like one of the most iconic structures in America, and he did that.
Yes, right. No, it is. I mean, it truly is an iconic building.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little. People don't realize that now, or they just call it Big Blue or whatever. But it is made by an iconic.
Yeah.
Okay. You have out-of-town visitors. Where is one place you will absolutely take them? You can't say the Art Center.
Oh, why can't I say of course it's the Art Center. Why wouldn't I take them to the Art Center?
Because that's the default. I knew you would. I mean, outside of the Art Center, because it's a given.
Well, but not for everybody.
That's
true. For me, it's a given.
Yes, of
but
course,
like
for you, it's a given.
But I mean, I've also been involved in museums my whole life, so it's like I would take them to a museum.
I take it back.
All right,
so the Art Center.
Okay, the Art Center first.
Yes.
And then I would take them. I mean, my favorite place in the whole city is Silver Lake Park. I mean, it's where I live.
Yeah.
But it's just such a pleasant walk and such a pleasant place to hang out. Like it's just so nice.
It is nice. You're right. My favorite part of Silver Lake Park is around kind of the east side when you hit the Ball Diamond, and then you see the bridges off to the left, and then you kind of curve.
You know that big parking lot that is a park like next.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I live up that rocky hill, right there. Yeah.
Yeah, you actually were old neighbors with Abe.
Yeah. He lived right. I could see his house from my house.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just love that. And then you kind of go down, and then people don't realize that there's like a little island in the middle of Silver Lake.
So cool.
People don't realize. And we used to go in high school. And then
sure.
Just like the little historic bridges and nice
that
view
little
of the city.
Little bay behind the island thing there, it's so well hidden. There's always turtles back there. There's always a heron back there in the summertime. It's so cool.
I know. Well, it is really special. And so I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people will say Silver Lake.
That's true.
Okay, what's your go-to karaoke song?
I never do karaoke. I'm a terrible singer. My wife sings a lot. She was in the choral state camp, choral arts ensemble choir here in town.
Yes.
She's now in the choral chorale for the symphony. So she sings.
Okay.
I leave it up to her.
Okay, so fine. What would her go-to karaoke song be?
Well, back when we used to go to Nye's Polynesian in Northeast Minneapolis,
nice.
I would always make her sing Edelweiss.
Oh,
because she can hit it perfect, and then the guy on the piano it's just like it was perfect. I mean, the piano accompaniment, and then she's singing Edelweiss. It was like it brings a tear to your eye.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
You just mentioned Edelweiss, and I'm already bawling my eyeballs out.
I know.
No, I love that, and rest in peace, Nye's.
I know, right? What a waste. I mean, that place was amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, some of those amazing nights we'd sit and we'd sing on the piano and we'd have like, good food, and then we'd go next door and we'd dance the polka. It was like, I mean, where else can you get that? I mean, maybe Milwaukee. You can get that in Milwaukee, but like it's a rarity.
You just really brought a pang to my heart.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it happens.
All right, we're gonna do a couple more questions and then we're gonna move on. You're going to a movie.
Okay.
And you have to sneak in 3 snacks.
Oh.
What are they?
Oh, well, we go to a lot of movies. My kids and I like to go to movies.
Yeah, and this is not saying do you sneak in 3 snacks.
Don't. But if I had to, well,
it's an ethical question.
Is it an ethical thing?
No,
Then I would say I wouldn't sneak anything in.
No, if you were to.
Okay, so like you basically asked me what my favorite snacks are, right?
Yeah,
okay, all right. Well, I mean, I probably couldn't sneak it in because it'd be just a mess. But like one of my favorite snacks is probably Old Dutch and top potato.
Oh.
Because I was introduced to that when I first moved to Minneapolis.
Great answer.
Yeah, so that's the thing you can't get out of the state.
Top potato.
Yeah, so I was introduced to that when I moved to Minneapolis when I met my wife. And then we moved out of Minneapolis, and she was like, "Why can't I get top potato?" I was like, "That's not from here. They don't sell that here."
Who makes it? Is it Kemp's?
It's not Kemp's. It's a much smaller place.
You're right.
I think it might be all they make.
I think it's like their iconic thing, and that just kind of keeps them going, right?
Right, but it has to be served with Old Dutch.
Oh, yes, those ripples.
The ripples. Yeah. Where we lived in Northeast Minneapolis, if you came in kind of the back way through the industrial area, there's actually an Old Dutch factory right there. So if you came in and rolled the windows down, you could smell frying chips. Yeah, it was really great.
There's nothing better than those ridges, those Old Dutch.
I know. That's fantastic. Well, I gotta say my favorite candy. I fought against this so long, but I finally given in. What are they called? The Sour
Patch Kids.
My favorite candy. I can't stop.
They really have something to go in there, don't they?
Yeah. I can't stop.
I think kids, across the board, I think kids just like that sweet and sour candy now. Like it's iconic. Like they did a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a wave of candy movement.
Yeah, when they started it, right?
Right, they did. Yeah. They started it. Okay. There's so many good questions I could ask you. What's one thing you will always spend more money on?
Food.
Yeah, well, there you go. Right.
Groceries. Yeah, right. I have. It's like the only thing my wife and I argue about because I would rather spend the extra $2 on the organic, just because it's not just about me. It's not about my preferences. It's for the planet.
Yes.
But it is more expensive, right. And I shop at the co-op rather than shopping at Hy-Vee. It's like
the co-op. We love the co-op in this house. We are big people to co-op plans. Yeah. Well, I have to add in that their produce is
it's
beautiful. Not only is it beautiful, but I feel that it's on par with the prices that you can find in other places.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. That's true.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I shop there. It's because like the produce is better, and like I feel good about spending money in the meat department because they source it locally. It's ethically raised. It's like, that's why
and you're supporting the local ecosystem by contributing back to the farmers that contribute to the co-op.
That's absolutely true.
They do a large percentage of their volume at the store is through their local farmers.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Where do you go locally for a cup of coffee?
I've recently started going to Cafe a Key.
Yeah.
Especially in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Because you can sit in the greenhouse.
Cozy vibes.
Oh, man. Well, it's not just that. It's like being around green this time of year is like super, super important. I feel like it's like a mental health thing,
I know. That greenhouse is healing.
Yeah.
It truly is. Putting seating in there.
It was a brilliant move.
Very genius.
Yeah, when my kids were, when my daughter was very young, it was like this time of year and it was cold and awful. And we were living in Minneapolis at that time. And she's like, I want to go somewhere warm. So luckily in Minneapolis, they have the Como Conservatory. Yes. So we went to the conservatory because you can be immersed in like greenery.
Yes.
And I think that's super, super important this time of year is to have that like vitamin D bump and that chlorophyll bump and like, because it can be you're stuck in your four walls. There's no sunshine. It's super important to get out there and do that.
Conservatory is one of my favorite spots in all of the Twin Cities. This weekend, so the 25th of January, they're having their yearly orchid show.
Oh, lovely.
I know. So if you are looking for a reason to jaunt up there, they're having their orchid show. And little plug for the cities, they're having the Kite Festival.
Oh, cool.
The Harriet Lake Kite Festival, along with the Art Shanties project.
The Art Shanties is on, yeah. That did not happen last year, or was it much smaller?
It did happen last year, but I don't know if it was smaller or bigger or whatever. And then the St. Paul Winter Carnival starts this week too. So lots going on. Lots going on. Okay. What community organization is doing a good job?
Can I not say the Art Center again?
You can say whatever you want.
Because I have to give them a plug.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Yes. I think, I mean, Total Arts Day Camp is an amazing program. It's been going for like 75 years. That's a huge deal. To have a program that is based around kids, like be continuously running every summer for 75 years and be continually good is super impressive. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, like the exhibitions they put up, I mean, I'm biased, but they're great. That they're getting a nice mix of like people from the cities, people from here, like regionally. I think it's great. I love it. And I mean, I thought about this because I have to plug them, but I believe in them.
Yeah.
But also, like, I mean, all of the local music organizations like Thaw, Porch Fest. Right. I mean, there's like limited funds for any of this kind of stuff, but yet people get out there and like punch the pavement and get it done.
Yep.
And it's always great.
Yep.
You know?
And I mean, just a plug for those that are really working hard on live music anyways. I mean, Thesis has a great program. Forager has live music all the time. Redwood Room. I mean, there's Tree Dome.
Yeah,
and
Tree Dome. I was just there actually on Saturday, and like what they do on a shoestring is incredible.
It really is, and I don't think that people fully understand the time, effort, resources, and funds that need to go in to bring a vibrant music program to the city. But we recently decided on Rochester Local that we were going to try to bring more exposure to the live music in Rochester. So we have a live music guide. And just a couple of days ago, we counted up how many gigs there are between now and the end of January. It was like 70.
Yeah.
And that was just halfway through the month.
Yeah, I mean, see, and the thing is that I think everyone needs to really understand is like that only happens if you show up.
Yes.
You know, like,
go.
Because the thing about it is when you're making art, like you're just going to keep on making it. Like musicians are going to write songs. They're going to play shows. Like nothing's going to stop them.
Yeah.
But the only way to support that and keep it moving, mostly because like the venue, they have overhead, you know, like they have a passion for it too. Otherwise they wouldn't be doing it, but it's different. It's a different kind of drive.
Right.
It's a drive that is like, I need to present this, but I also need to keep the lights on.
Right. That's exactly right. It's like your passion. It's your passion. You can't. You can only live on the passion fumes for so long. People need to pay their bills.
Right.
And so, and I also want to give a shout out to the Rochester Public Music Department because they do a great job of the Riverside concerts.
I agree. I mean,
and
the
the
fact those are
Forward
free,
concert.
I mean, that means the fact that those are free events means there is so much hustling going on behind the scenes to get grants, to get the funding to pay for this kind of stuff, to find vendors, to find partners. Like the amount of work that happens for those things to happen, I think is grossly like underrated. Like that is like they work so hard.
They do. They work very, very hard. And I love that they showcase local music and bring regional music. And I think that they do a really good job. Yeah. And they've got passport sessions coming up this year too, which is really exciting.
Oh, fun.
So, okay. So we've come to the point in the show where we talk about
history.
History.
Oh, awesome. I can't wait.
So one of the things that
I have to interject here. I do actually work with the History Center sometimes. I did a couple builds for them, some new furniture.
Yeah.
I am working with them on their centennial poster right now for their centennial celebration.
I'm just gonna collect Devon art and put it all over. I mean, I'm gonna have to. I love the History Center.
Yeah. So the other thing about the History Center is I love that place, and but so from being out there and working with them, they had this whole garage space full of printing equipment, like old, like movable type.
Oh, wow.
And like big platen presses and stuff. It was just sitting out there. And finally I asked him, and I was like, what's this stuff? He was like, well, it was donated from a couple of different places. And there was an idea to make this a print shop and have someone come in. But then everyone who was like driving that project, like died pretty much. It's been in there for like 40 years. So now that they're doing all this work on the Stoffel farm, they needed space for storage. So they were going to like get rid of all that stuff. And I was like, I'm your man. So I went out there and I took as much as I possibly could of all this movable type and all this stuff. So now I've been teaching myself how to use it, getting it all revamped to working order. And one of the things I'm going to do for their centennial celebration is have one of the platen presses up and running so you can come in and print your own custom
step.
card.
This is making my heart thump, thump, thump. I love it so much.
Well,
Have
if
you?
search, you're gonna see a couple half show prints.
Oh, nice.
Which
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite place to go in Nashville.
Yeah. They do amazing work.
This over 100-year-old letterpress press shop that's got stuff from like 100 years ago still just sitting there on their walls, ready to go.
What's amazing about wood type especially, but movable type, is that there's a term. It's called preservation through production. So with wood type especially, if you don't use it, it falls apart. So the more you print with this kind of stuff, especially wood type, it preserves it. So the only way to preserve this kind of stuff is to actually make show prints. How cool is that?
I love it. Do you ever come across anything from the Sacramento History Museum?
Online, the old guy who does the prints for like every day of the year. That guy's great.
I love him so much.
That press he has, it's a, I think it's a Wittenberg press. I think it's amazing. It's gorgeous.
Stunning.
Yeah.
I love just the sounds that it makes. Yeah. And he's so intentional with just like
every movement, and then pulls it tight twice, then opens it up. Yeah. So that press he uses, that Wittenberg press, was one of the first styles of printing press. So that when movable type was first developed in the West, because it was developed in the East way before the West did it.
Right.
But when it was first developed in the West, that was the press they used. So imagine printing on that big giant press a piece of paper that has all this lettering that you hand set. Think about typos in that, right? You can't have a typo in that because you're printing it for posterity, right? Forever.
So the editors must have been real great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Well, no, this whole History Center thing, great. Okay. So tying back to, we like to, on the podcast, look back. What was life like in Rochester 50, 75, 100 years ago? And we get a lot of these things from either the History Center or the Post Bulletin. We'll occasionally print like little throwbacks. This one was in the paper just a little while ago. 1925, 100 years ago this month.
Okay.
Rochester police, responding to a noise complaint, staged one of the most spectacular and sensational raids in the city's history. They crashed a door at 305 and a half South Broadway, right between Tie Pop and Kathy's, interrupting a strip poker party. Six boys and 3 girls were removed in various levels of undress and arrested.
Oh, the scandal.
The scandal. Can you believe that?
No.
I mean,
I can't believe that's newsworthy. But I mean, then it must have caused a great stir then. But.
Right? Well, I mean, downtown's hopping.
Yeah.
Downtown's the place to be. I know exactly right. So right between Tie Pop and Kathy's, there's this little door and it says the vault on it. And you can go upstairs and then there's office space above Tie Pop. And I'm wondering if it was kind of that, like, because that's the oldest preserved block.
Yeah. I mean, Wing Tree Dome is right there too, between those two spots.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's right there.
Yeah.
So there's nefarious
things happening there.
There. And one of the city's most sensational raids.
Sensational.
Absolutely newsworthy.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know.
Sure.
Yeah. So there you go. Rochester, absolutely a rocking place 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And still today.
Yeah. Well, hey, you never know what's going to happen behind closed doors.
I know.
I mean, you open a door downtown, you might come to a really good show, or you might see a strip poker game. Who knows?
Who knows?
Why not both? That's the kind of show I want to go to.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Devon, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You
were such a fun guest. And if someone wanted to find you online, where could they go?
I have all the social media stuff. I have Facebook and Instagram. It's under my name, so Devon Hugdahl. You can search me out. I also have a Square site where I sell my posters, which is also I think it's Gig Posters by Devon. I'm kind of in the process of rebranding. I'm not really good at this whole thing, but I decided that a very popular thing to do for poster people is to have a name for their studio. So my studio is called Permanent Press.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So actually that name came from an advertising plate I found in this stuff that I saved from the History Center. It's this guy in this very beautiful 70s shirt. And it says Permanent Press right there. It's like, that's perfect. That
is actually perfect.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. And if you are interested in listening to more podcast episodes, you can go to rochesterlocal.com/podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.